So today we are talking about how to raise children who are confident, who are secure. We are Dr. Rubaltuli Shekhatat from Amritsar, Punjab, India, reaching out to people around the country and out of country. Today we are talking about children who are secure, not just in their achievements, but also who are secure in their minds, in their relations, in everything they pursue in their life.
Absolutely. So, parenting today is very different from parenting 20 or 30 years ago. Our world has become more connected, but in many ways, people have become more disconnected from themselves. We have more information than ever before, yet more confusion. More on our friend list. There are a lot of friends on our friend list, yet there is a lot of loneliness.
Wonderful. And somewhere in this complexity, we are seeing a rise in something which the psychologists call narcissism. Now, narcissism is often misunderstood. It is something that people think is just about being arrogant or full of yourselves. But narcissism is actually more like a beautiful looking house, but resting on weak foundation. From the outside, everything may appear perfect, but inside there is this insecurity. There is anxiety. Think of a balloon. The larger it inflates, the more is the risk of it collapsing, the more fragile it is. One small prick, one criticism, one rejection, the confidence, the balloon bursts. But the true confidence should be more like a tree. The tree that really blossoms with deep roots, can bend when there is a storm, and can still remain standing.
And that is exactly why today's conversation is very important. How do we raise our children emotionally secure? That's very important. How do we raise children who know their worth even when nobody's clapping? How do we help them develop healthy relationships and a strong sense of identity? To help us navigate these questions, we have with us an exceptional expert, Dr. Rachna Buxani.
So it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Dr. Rachna Buxani-Mirpuri. Let's hear a little hi from her and then I introduce her.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for helping me talk about a topic that's obviously very close to my heart, but hopefully by the end of the evening, it will be close to many people's hearts.
Absolutely. So Dr. Rachna Buxani is a licensed mental health counselor, a national certified counselor with more than 23 years of professional experience across United States, Dubai, and Cayman Islands. She's widely respected for her compassionate and culturally sensitive approach to mental health and wellness. Her work focuses on trauma recovery, family dysfunction, emotional healing, and she helps individuals discover and strengthen their sense of identity.
She's the founder of Buxani Counseling Care in Miami and has dedicated her career to making mental health support accessible and inclusive for all. Dr. Rachna is also a board member of NAMI Miami-Dade. NAMI stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, one of the largest mental health advocacy organizations in the United States.
Her work, both professionally and also through community advocacy, has touched countless lives and helped families build healthier relationships and stronger emotional foundations. Dr. Rachna, thank you so much for joining us today. We're truly delighted to have you here. And everyone, this is the book which was our absolute travel partner over the last 1 month, and even when we were out of country. So the book is called Unseen. It explores the relationship of a father and daughter, particularly the daughter's journey as she was going through the shadow of a narcissistic father. This book is available on Amazon. So this becomes our root, our foundation, from where the discussion tree of today is really blossoming. So Dr. Rachna, now is the time when we commence our big discussion. I'm sure the parents joining in today are super excited to get their answers. Of course, every child, every parent wants that their children should be confident and really growing up well. So our first question stems from a very common observation. A child says, "Mama, can I help you in the kitchen?" And immediately the parent responds, no, beta, you will spill something, you will spoil something, you will create a mess. I mean, as parents, we are talking about giving our children care, protecting them, and maybe we're trying to save time and avoiding the mess. But psychologists have increasingly shared now that children do not hear what adults intend always. They build up their own understanding. A parent may mean you are too young to understand, but a child hears, maybe I'm not capable enough. A parent may say, let me help you, but a child may hear, you don't trust me. So the tiny conversations at home, the insignificant experiences that happen at home, these are the ones which can have these resounding impact on the child's self-image. So the questions we want the answer to are:
what exactly is self-image from psychological perspective? And where do parents unintentionally go wrong in building the self-image of their children?
First of all, beautifully said. You actually stole my thunder. I was going to say some of that, but never mind. We'll move along. Self-image. I think it's the story that a child tells themselves about themselves, right? About who they are. So it's the story that I am telling myself about who I am. That's self-image. I think parents and again, Indian parents. I'm an Indian parent too. I have 2 kids of my own. And I think we focus rightfully on building a sense of achievement in children. I think where we falter is that we don't work on helping them build a sense of identity. And that is what I think needs to change, because rather than what have you achieved, why haven't you gotten that A in or 90% or 100% grades in whatever you're doing at school, I think we need to help our children understand who they are. And that is what builds a self-image, a healthy self-image. Because I think the biggest problem is children don't know who they are. They don't know what they want. Because in a lot of families, children are not allowed to really think about those things. Parents are making those decisions for them. So giving the child the opportunity to explore for themselves, to make those mistakes, because really we make meaning out of those little everyday experiences that we have, and so are children making meaning out of that. If the child is trying to get something, and instead of giving it to the child, if they just struggle and they're able to get it for themselves, that's building confidence right there, right? So what that tells the child is, I can do this. So that's why the story that is building in their head about themselves is extremely important. And that really is what self-image is.
Absolutely. So that means it's a child's ability to recall proudly those incidents in life when he could take charge. That's what he recalls, the small experiences, and he can proudly feel that, yes, I'm able to do it. And as parents, our role predominantly remains to ensure our children discover who they are, what their capability is.
Yes.
Very well said, Dr. Rachna.
I think there's a misconception, because people believe that success builds self-image. I want to venture to say failures build self-image. Because if I fail at something, but then I am able to go on and build that resilience and actually achieve success in that thing that I didn't do well in before, that is what builds self-image. I think if I get successes too easily, it's very hard for me. Then it builds that ego. Okay, I'm just good at everything, right? But self-image is something, and that's why we have so many people who seem outwardly to be very confident, but inside they're broken, they're very insecure. So I think it's the challenges that we face in our life that actually help us build that self-image. So allow your children to make those mistakes, because it's through those mistakes that they're going to learn.
Absolutely. It just reminds me today while we were taking our classes, a little girl, I think 5-year-old, she came up and she said, "Oh sir, I again stood first." And although I congratulated her, but in my mind it was, oh, there's going to be this one time in the future when she is not going to stand first and she's going to be heartbroken. And just because she is not yet ready to accept and confront the possible failure, it is going to be a hard time for her. And often in Montessori, as kindergarten runners, we hear that when a child brings a painting to you, rather than just saying, very nice, very good, try to expand your commentary, not just limiting it to singular words, the adjectives, and really talking about, oh, I really like how you've used these colors there.
And also exploring why, what made you use these colors.
Oh, yes.
Children understand for themselves that why are they making the choices that they're making, right? Because if someone is saying, oh, I don't know, it was that was what was available. Okay, that's very different from someone saying, it was very deliberate, a very thoughtful act, because I chose these colors because this is meaningful for me. So I think, having that dialogue with children is extremely important.
Very well said. So self-image, as Dr. Rachna said, is a complex work. It comes over time. And those tiny experiences, which could be damaging as we are talking, could actually be table turning, because that's when we could bring on those conversations.
I think that builds the core.
Absolutely. That builds the core of the child. Just to update all the people here, all our respected parent community here, please feel free to share your questions in the comment box. We will be taking a Q&A at the end. We have the lovely Tanvi here who is taking a note of the questions, and in the end we are going to take them. Coming over to the next point of discussion. So, Dr. Rachna, another concern we hear, increasingly the parents are saying, oh, my child doesn't share what happened in the school. My child is not expressive. Oh, he's shy. But if you look deeper, there was a time when the child was perhaps expressive. But maybe because the parents were always judgmental or always correcting him, advising him, the child felt judged. He began feeling what will be accepted, what won't be. And that's when he began going into that shell. So our question here is...
So what would you like to say to parents who genuinely want their children to open up to them? Do highlight some communication mistakes that parents, they usually make.
I will. I'm going to say this, and I want parents to take it in the most compassionate way. I think what happens is, because we as parents have our own baggage, right? That we are carrying all our lives. So when our child comes to us with a concern, the first thing I want to do is not to listen to the child. I really want to fix it. The reason I want to fix it is because somewhere I'm attaching meaning that I'm not a good enough parent if I'm not able to fix this for my child. If my child is upset, I just need to fix it for that child. So what I then start doing is I start advising, controlling, do this, don't do that, but don't talk to this person. Acha, this person said this to you, then don't be friends with her. Instead of just giving space, holding space for my child to be able to, because most children will figure things out for themselves. They're not coming to us for solutions. They're actually coming to us for validation. They're coming to us for connection. They're coming to us for us to listen to them. If only we can put aside our stuff and just be there, because every time my child comes to me, it's not a report card of me as being a good or a bad parent. It's not. If my child is not doing well at something, if my child is struggling at something, that is not about me. It's about them. And if I can hold space for that child, that's when those connections are formed.
Wow.
And we do this as therapists all the time, because therapy is not about fixing people, right? So when somebody comes to me, my goal for them is not that, okay, how can I make this person better? Let me fix this person and send them back. No, I need to hold space for the people. And I'm through this webinar, I'm hoping that parents can understand that that's what your children need from you. They really need you to hold space for them.
Superb. And very happy to share that we have these very precise questions which are dropping in. And I think it's going to be another insightful exploration, finding answers to all of them with Dr. Rachna by the end. So please keep sharing your questions. We totally value them. The conversation makes all the more sense when we know where to target our answers. So as Dr. Rachna said, it's about giving them the space. It's about validating and not always judging and telling them what to do. I think parents always become the wise owls who are not just listening, but also commenting and strategizing for their children. Next time, do this. I remember, although that used to be a lot of fun, my father would often tell me, oh, he said this to you, then you should have said that to him. Then I would repent. And then I would repent.
And then you feel worse because then you're like, oh my gosh, how do I go back and fix this now?
Because then you feel that, I should have gone. I remember that I saw this movie wherein the protagonist would, whenever she would get fired from a job, she would say, you can't fire me. I quit.
So
and I just
favorite line it was.
It was my favorite. It was my favorite line. And the reason I wanted now my employers when I was in England to fire me is so that I could say this line. So so it's something like that. I think the children, when they find that, okay, there are some better sentences, responses, then rather than really finding a way out, they rather get seeped into the challenge more.
Correct. And I want to make one correction. I don't only want parents to give space. I want them to hold space.
Wow.
And the difference there is when you're holding space for a person, you're doing it with a lot of compassion. You're doing it with a lot of validation, right? You are doing it with empathy versus just giving space to a person to be able to talk. You're really in there in that moment with the child.
Right, you're with the child. And something about validation, what we also hear in our teaching circles is whenever a child comes with a challenge with you, rather than telling him what to do, simply trying to reframe the situation. Oh, my dear, I know you're feeling disappointed. A child loses, doesn't win the prize. Oh, my dear, I know that you're feeling disappointed. I know you worked hard. And then somewhere steering that conversation to things we want our child to discover. And I think let's move on to the social media part that we were excited to ask Dr. Rachna.
So Dr. Rachna, with social media everywhere, we often hear influencers candidly sharing their stories. And a statement that comes up again and again is, my parents loved me, but they never really understood me. It is alarming because many parents, they spend their entire lives sacrificing for their children. They speak it out loud and declare to their children things like, I sacrificed so much for you. I worked so hard for you. Everything I do is for you. And what do you say on this? Like, would you say that unknowingly we parents emotionally burden our children saying these sentences?
Nuanced question, so I'm going to break it down.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing you said is, okay, that my parents love me, but they don't understand me. So let's touch upon that first. What does that mean? And how is that different, right? So love is about care, about sacrifice. And I think we Indian parents are very good at doing that. Primarily because that's a generational thing that's, we are built on guilt, right? So we are going to sacrifice for our children. We want them to have great lives. We want to provide for them. We don't see them though. And that is where the understanding comes. Where we are providing things for them to be materially okay. We're sacrificing for them to be okay physically. Emotionally, we are not seeing our children. We're not. And that's where the understanding comes. And that's where children feel that, okay, but I don't know if my parents actually know who I am, because I don't know if they've taken the time to understand who I am. They love me because they've given me, they've provided for me, they've sacrificed for me, yes. But I don't know if they understand my emotions, my fears, my personality, my experiences. I'm not sure they're seeing that. And that is partly why Unseen was written, because, not being able to be seen by my parents is very, very challenging and detrimental to children. So I think that is the distinction there. And that's why, children sometimes say, okay, I know they love me, but they just don't understand me. They don't accept me for who I am. But They also, maybe they don't know who I am, right? They've not taken that time. Then those sentences of, I've sacrificed so much for you, I did this for you. Yes, and we do, as parents, we do sacrifice. I don't think the children are asking for those sacrifices, but we do it. Again, it's an internal thing. Children don't know better when they're 2 or 3 if we are, we are making all those sacrifices for you, and then now they're 17 and now we are holding them accountable for, okay, but all these years I made those choices and I made those decisions, and now you have to behave in a certain way for those choices that I made. I think that emotional burden, yes, because now what I'm saying is, okay, because I've done this for you, now you, somewhere that sacrifice turns into expectation.
Yeah.
A sacrifice that was again a choice of mine. I chose to make those sacrifices. But now I have turned that into expectation. I think that is what becomes extremely challenging for children.
Absolutely. And when
They don't know how to navigate that.
they don't know how to navigate that, they have this emotional baggage and they feel that now they are accountable. No wonder we see, particularly in times of examinations, what has been happening in our country recently with the NEET exam and a lot of issues like that. The OSM case of CBSE, the parents are literally feeling worried, but then the children, they feel not understood. It adds on to the anxiety, to that insecurity, to that toxicity, as we say. Also, one of the things which really stayed with me as I read Unseen by Dr. Rachna was how the power of story, how you really identify yourself by the stories that you have built around you. So my son, I remember when he was very little, although this incident never happened, but I wanted him to feel that incident happened. I told him that, Zoravo, when you were little, you were in a playground and a bully was not letting another child play. And you stood in front and you said, I cannot let you do that. He never did it. But since then, I really hope he's not listening to me. But I said it because I wanted him to understand that he is courageous. He can be bold. He can take a stronger side. So sometimes it's about these stories that we weave about our children, which work as reminders to them. In fact, the values and the sanskar that people talk in India are nothing but, I think, a collection of all these fables and stories which a child carries with him. What would you say, Dr. Rachna, with the power of stories? Would you recommend parents to build on these stories for their children?
Like what you did with your son. Listen, if it worked, great. The day he finds out, you're going to have a different conversation with him. But I think it's, those subtle messages that we're giving our children and the stories that they're building for themselves. So we don't have to actually, build these stories for them. They are building those stories for themselves through, again, their experiences, through what, the messages that we're giving them. Remember, parents are mirrors to their children, right? So they are going to reflect the messages that we're giving them. So if I tell my child, for instance, because sometimes it's like, oh, you're a responsible child. That's a mirror, right? So that's the story they're building. Now that can come with its own set of issues, because then the child feels that, okay, but now I'm responsible. I have to be responsible for the rest of my life. And then you start taking responsibility of everyone. So we have to be very careful about the way we are talking to our children and the messages that we're giving them, because they are building stories about themselves through these messages that we're giving them.
Oh, how powerful. I think that's exactly the challenge.
So at the same time, Dr. Rachna, in many homes, the constant sayings for the children are become a doctor, become an engineer, take commerce. And again, parents usually say these things because they care. I mean, they want security, stability, and success for their children. But somewhere, the guidance can slowly, it can become pressure and control. So, what is the psychological truth that parents need to understand here? And what is that fine line between, guiding a child and controlling a child? I think this issue is very much there in India, so we want an answer from you.
No, it's there with Indians even here. Most of my friends are doctors, if not software engineers, right? So I think it's a global Indian thing that we try to guide our children in the best way possible. I feel our role as parents is really to help to not create a version of the children that we want, right? To help them discover who they are and then to support that. So my son wants to be an author. For an Indian parent, that is like, oh my gosh, what do you mean? But you should have a backup plan. What if that your books don't sell, right? And even though those are fears, because control comes from what? From my fears, right? It has nothing to do with the child. I control because I am scared. But what if he doesn't make it in his life? Then now he's going to be a burden on me for the rest of my life. Because that's where this mindset is coming from. So remember that if you are trying to control somebody, it's coming from a fear that you have about the situation. Your child may be completely successful being an author, being an artist, whatever they want to do. I have fears surrounding it. So the best way is when you feel fear to take a step back, to not react at that time. Because at that point, whatever you say is going to come as a form of control. Because what I'm trying to control is I'm trying to control that fear that I am feeling or the anxiety that I am feeling over the future of my child.
Right.
And the problem with that is your child is going to grow up feeling disconnected from who they are. They're going to either be extremely anxious, they're going to go on the path of perfectionism, people pleasing, right? Because I have never allowed my child to think for themselves, to go on a path that they choose. So that is going to have detrimental effects. I have a line in my book that says one of the greatest psychological harms isn't rebellion, it's self-abandonment. And that self-abandonment is a result of the control of my parents, right? Because I learned then as a child to just give up who I am. And I will do as my parents want and as my parents please. That's a very dangerous thing.
Right. And I think very commonly we see now increasing number of people, their degrees by education would be different, but what they are actually doing in their life is different. There could be doctors, but then they would be trekking doing the adventure sports to be Instagram influencers, because the idea of self-discovery, which comes from conversations, which comes from, like Dr. Rachna said, holding this space, that's just not given. And then these children, they carry emotional wounds, which, as Dr. Rachna puts it in her book, the emotional wounds, they are not visible. They don't have the scars. But somewhere the way we conduct ourselves, it reflects the environment, the emotional environment we had as a child. So when we see somebody not really being comfortable in the relations, as a grown-up, not able to accept defeat, not able to maneuver through society's expectations, somewhere it's that resilience, that security which has not been built. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll tell you something. Think about what we believe, right? We believe that we are here, we have to find our purpose, our meaning, correct? That is the, when we look for, self-actualization, okay? That understanding that what is life about? It's about ultimately finding that purpose and meaning that fulfills me, right? And that purpose and meaning is always going to be outside of myself. Like, it's going to be on a larger scale. What can I do for the world? What can I do for society? What can I do for my neighbor? Again, a child who's never been able to think for themselves, then when they grow up and now they're adults and they don't have any meaning and purpose in their life because they're going on as robots, right? They're going to work, coming back, providing for family, that's it. Has never been given a chance or has never taken that time to actually think, who am I? What do I want to do? When I leave, how can I leave this world slightly better, right? But I've never even thought of that. And that's where you see a lot of geriatric depression, loneliness, because people get to that phase of their life and then they look back and say, what did I do? I don't even know who I am. So encouraging your children to discover those things early on in life is actually a beautiful journey that we are sending them on.
Wow. It's exactly like a bird learns to fly. I mean, you literally have to know how to use your wings. Reminds me of my nephew. So he was so used to being with a nanny that when he would run, he would just not stop, even if there is a staircase. And the reason for that would be he was never given that self-control in a way to understand that running on a staircase could be dangerous or I could topple down. So somewhere it's about, as you said, really understanding, giving the children the feeling of control over what they are doing. Which reminds me, there was this popular Bonvita ad wherein the mother would literally make her son sprint again and again.
She was running along.
She was running along, and then she would feed her son the Bonvita, and she would say that I am teaching my child to be competitive. I want him to be ready for the world. So somewhere, I think in India, we have this mindset that a tough environment equals to success in life. I mean, tough love can make children stronger. But then, despite all these antics that we resort to, today's children, we see they have rising anxiety. The chase towards perfectionism is maddening. They are terrified of making mistakes. They themselves never take initiatives because they have seen their parents always pushing them for the events in school. So somewhere they're waiting for their parents to come even as an adult and help them. They avoid failure. They are scared of criticism. So what would you say, Dr. Rachna, are the factors which are literally leading to these weak children?
Emotionally weak children.
Absolutely.
Right? Because physically they may be strong. Right? So I think first we need to define what strong is. Right? Because I think we don't understand, and especially, again, we in India, we tend to believe a child who's getting good grades, who's achieving, sports mein acha hai, you're a strong child. Because my child can do this and this and this. We literally, when we talk about children, we talk about their achievements, right? We talk about them in terms of their achievements. We actually don't talk about kids in terms of who they are as people. We talk about them in terms of achievement. You always see, play that song for auntie, or right? Don't we all do that? I remember when my kids were young, I used to, before I was enlightened, right? So, I was very proud that my children could say the Gayatri Mantra because I live in America, but I was able to teach my children that any opportunity, say the Gayatri Mantra, right? Again, what we do is we associate children being okay or being emotionally, socially okay by their achievements. So I think that the word strong needs to be defined. Why do we have so many kids who are doing so well? Because there are kids who are doing very well at school, very well at sports, but inside they are fear of failure, completely exhausted, they're anxious, they're worried about disappointing others, right? So the people pleasing comes in. What is going on? And consistently what research has found is children thrive when we have a mixture of high expectations and emotional safety. Those two have to go hand in hand. So I'm not suggesting that parents lower your standards. It's nice for children to aspire to achieve something in their life, but that has to go hand in hand with them feeling emotionally safe. So for instance, if I tell my child that do well at school, Like if I'm encouraging my child to do well at school, that's not the problem. The problem is when I'm attaching their self-worth to what they're achieving at school, right? So if instead of an A they get a B, and that's the end of how I see them, that and then does how they see themselves, that becomes an issue. So I need to be mindful that I am providing them that emotional safety along with whatever standards I'm setting for them. And that is how we get strong children emotionally, who can then withstand if I fail at something. I'm okay. If I don't do well at something, I'm okay, because I know I'm still going to be loved. I'm still going to be cared for. I'm still going to be understood. I'm still going to be seen. The day I don't have that, that's the time that it becomes very, very detrimental and dangerous for children.
Wow. And I think, this also reminds me. So once we were at a conference wherein this fellow, he comes up to us and he says, "So, sir, meet my son. I have made him memorize the names of all the capitals of our country. And he is a Guinness World Record winner for literally naming phone numbers or I don't know what all." And then while I'm sharing this incident, often the parents' idea of success and achievement is so garbled that by the time the child grows up, even he doesn't have an idea, because the originality of thought, that creativity in problem solving, that ability to take ownership, that I am doing something in life and I am in control. I will own the repercussions. It is my way of doing, my approach. Somewhere we miss out as parents on developing that confidence, which also reminds me in your book as well. And you have spoken about labeling the children. So in Unseen, there's come this golden child phenomenon and scapegoat phenomenon. Now, why I'm addressing that, it's very common in India when you have joint families or with WhatsApp communities. I think you have the cousins who are in touch. We label the children. The comparisons are more than ever. We say, "Look at your cousin," or we say, "Look, your sister is so mature," or "You should do it like your brother." So we wish to understand from a psychologist's point of view what really this comparison thing can lead to, and what do the parents need to know about it. And before you answer, just updating that we would try to summarize our conversation in 5 to 7 minutes, because there is this rich selection of questions which we would love Dr. Buxani
Keep
to
seeing them come through. Yes. So I want to emphasize that the golden child and the scapegoat is more in we don't see those in regular families. Really, those are terms and those are labels or roles, because they're not actually labels. They're roles that children are put into. But that is very specific to narcissistic family systems, where the parent is narcissistic. And both those roles, so the golden child and the scapegoat, come with their own baggage, because the golden child is given the pedestal, but can grow up also very insecure or become narcissistic themselves, but generally is always fearful of losing that pedestal, right? Because if I do one wrong move, my parent will take me out of that. And scapegoat is the child who's blamed consistently for everything that goes wrong at the family. So, but those are roles. And unfortunately, in narcissistic family systems, children are not seen as individuals, they're seen as roles. They are all there to serve the narcissist, parent or parents, because sometimes both are narcissists. So those roles are very,
I think Dr. Rachna also mentioned, what would you say a narcissistic parent is like? Because sometimes, we are doing things, but we don't realize that's a dark shade of who we are.
So I want parents to be able to ask themselves some question, right? Because how do I know that I am a narcissist, right? First of all, if you're asking yourself that question, chances are you're not. Because a narcissist has no ability to self-reflect. So if I'm here trying to do better, or if I'm trying to take accountability, that is absent in a narcissist, right? Oh. So, and because narcissism is in the spectrum, the one side is a malignant narcissist, the other side is what we call a vulnerable narcissist, and we can get into those terms and what they are, and then somewhere in between is a grandiose narcissist. But I think if I can ask my question, if I can ask myself, okay, is my child truly able to be themselves around me? Can they disagree with me? Is it okay if my child disagrees with me? Is it okay if my child disappoints me? Is it okay if my child chooses a different path than what I deem correct for my child, right? I think those are some questions that parents can ask themselves in trying to determine. That still doesn't mean that they are narcissistic, but these are some questions that will give me an idea into my fragility of my ego, right? So how fragile is my ego? Am I okay when my child says, no, I don't want to do that? Am I able to handle that, or that is completely unacceptable? Because that tells me something about me. Narcissism, when we think about people who are narcissistic, there are few characteristics that I think stand out, right? So one is, there is, I've talked about the lack of self-reflection, lack of empathy, right? And a very distinct kind of empathy, because narcissists do have what we call cognitive empathy. So they know when to feel bad. If they'll watch a sad movie and if everybody around them is crying, they're like, okay, theek hai, main bhi ro leta hun thoda, let's do it. Because otherwise people are going to think I have no heart. But they don't actually feel. They don't have the emotional empathy. They don't have the compassionate empathy, right? So that is lacking. And I think one of the very defining factors of a narcissist is the sense of entitlement. That I deserve this. I am special. You need to treat me like that. So those are some of the questions that parents can ask themselves. Is that what I feel? But again, like I said, if you're actually self-reflecting, chances are you're not a narcissist.
So, you've really simplified, because what this book really is something I was always telling Shikha whenever I was reading it. I said it has a textbook quality. Like, it's not just a book you say, oh, I read it and you're done. No, it makes you think. It makes you underline. It makes you write those notes on the side. Because, and you answered it, that as long as a person can self-reflect and question, am I okay if my child disagrees with me? Am I okay if my child chooses a different path? Somewhere we break that narcissistic emotion that we have. And all those, one of my favorite chapters, just as you said, was where you discuss the differences of narcissism, whether it's the cognitive one, where we as a person are able to make our actions according to what we perceive thoughts of others, or emotional narcissism. I mean, that was literally brain rattling, because with all this narcissistic, egoistic traits, we can either emotionally abuse our family, or we can emotionally neglect our family. Could you describe emotional abuse and emotional neglect, Dr. Rachna?
I can. And just one thing I'm going to, so what you were talking about in terms of, was not the different kinds of narcissists, it's the different kinds of empathy we have.
Okay.
And, we get confused because, and it's very important to understand that empathy part about narcissism, only because if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, sometimes people get confused because they're like, no, but then that day, when we saw the homeless person, and then when we all were saying, oh, so bad, but then he was also saying so bad. Yes, because they have the cognitive empathy. The problem is that they don't actually feel it. See, we can put ourselves in somebody else's shoes and say, yeah, you know what, that must be really hard for that person. They don't have the ability of doing that, right? So it is important to understand that there are different kinds of empathy that we as human beings experience, and what a narcissist does have is cognitive empathy. The different kinds of narcissists, I think that's
very important. We would love to address.
I guess, okay, because we have the malignant narcissist, we have the communal narcissist, we have the neglectful narcissist. Again, because I'm seeing the questions come through. If you want, I can get into that. Or
I think what I would recommend is this is the book which can help them discover the types of narcissism, because I think it's a game in itself Because I remember that Shikha and the people who were with me in that family trip where I was reading Unseen, they were like, okay, tell me what kind of narcissist am I? So it kind of became a game for
Conversation in
us.
itself.
And every time I would read about one type, I would say, oh, there is this kind of a person. And yes, you are right. Every time I felt that there are remnants and traits and elements of every kind of narcissism in everyone.
Yeah.
But the moment
So I
you
want
said,
to say, please don't diagnose yourselves.
Okay.
Okay. Don't take my book and diagnose yourselves. Because yes, if a person has vanity, like your social media person who are always taking selfies, okay, then you. But that's very superficial narcissism, right? Like it doesn't really hurt anyone. We don't talk about it. We don't care. Sit and take your selfies if that makes you happy. Go ahead. But when we really talk about narcissism, it hurts. Narcissism can hurt families. It can lead to intergenerational trauma because genetically, if like I said, a golden child can then become narcissist. Think about it, it's like an octopus because one human being is affecting so many lives, right? But then think on the grander scale, then the narcissist can affect countries. A narcissist can affect the world, right? So we really do need to pay attention to narcissism. But again, do we all have a little maybe vanity, selfish? That's not narcissism, right? So because it is that sense of entitlement that I am special, you better treat me differently, you better do this for me because that's that sense of entitlement, and that inability to self-reflect. Because if a person, very simply put, say you and I are having a conversation and we have a fight, okay? It's not, everybody can have a fight. It's what I'm doing with the repair that will tell you if it's a narcissist or not, right? If at that point, like, okay, so we've done something, I've hurt your feelings, I'm not ready to take accountability, and in fact, I turn it around and gaslight you. No, are you okay? Why would you say that? I think you should go see a therapist. I've been seeing you're very anxious these days. Gaslighting a person, invalidating a person's reality. Those are some of the things that narcissists do, and that that, okay, there's a narcissist in the mix, right? And then I can deal with that person accordingly. I have known both of you. I don't think any of you have narcissistic traits. Please do not go ahead and diagnose yourselves through my book. But let's talk about, I think you were asking me a question when we were talking about the...
Yeah, so actually we thought that there are two things which are left before we are taking the question answers. One is, of course, we want you to tell parents something practical and actionable that they can really begin doing starting now, right after this webinar. And the other is we would like Kamal ma'am to give a vote of thanks. And right after that, let's take the question answers. Yes. So, Rachna,
I'm going to touch upon a little bit about that emotional neglect and emotional abuse, and then I'm going to give my practical advice. When people come into therapy, a lot of times they talk about, no, but I was not hit, I was not yelled at, right? But I still feel empty. I still feel that I need to please people. I still, have this anxiety. I feel like I need to be this person for everyone. Yes, emotional abuse is bad, but so is emotional neglect, right? Because emotional neglect basically says you were not even seen. You didn't even exist. And that is my client in Unseen. She was the invisible child, another role that is assigned in a narcissistic family. She didn't exist for her, especially for her father, who, is the narcissist. Whether she was there or not there, it really didn't make a difference. So if a parent who is, like I said, my mirror in telling, like, for me to build my sense of identity and for me to build my sense of self-image, if that parent doesn't even know I'm there and doesn't care if I exist, that is emotional neglect. And growing up with that is really, really harmful for someone's sense of self. So I hope I answered that question. Yes. I am rushing a little bit because I know you want to take the questions. The advice I'm going to give to parents, and I really want, parents to understand that next time your child comes to you, and if they upset you, or frustrate you or disappoint you, you really need to take a step back and ask yourself, is this really about my child? Or is this about an old wound in me?
Wow.
Because most of the time, it has nothing to do with what this child is doing. It is some baggage that I am carrying. And me, what I have done as a person, as a parent, is I have developed a way of protecting myself. I had to, right? Because of the wounds that I am carrying, I have developed these ways of protecting myself that if I don't begin to heal through compassion, through curiosity, right? Like asking those questions, hold on, why is this bothering me that much? Where is this coming from? Unless I go at it with curiosity, unless I go at it with compassion, I'm never going to break that. And then I'm going to transfer it to my children, who will then transfer it to their children, and it will continue, right? So I really want, the patterns may have been passed down to us, but they do not need to pass through us.
Wow.
Even if something is passed on to me, I don't need to pass it through me to my kids. I can stop that cycle by addressing my own wounds. So, having that ability to heal myself will make me a better parent and will ensure that it stops with over here. That my children are not it's not a legacy that's being carried.
Absolutely. I can totally resonate with it. I think, Dr. Rachna, the questions will have to take kind of like rapid fire, because I tell you, in every session, it's the questions which add on the entire beauty, because that's where the actionable advice is for everyone. So the first question is from Shubhi Agarwal. Her son is 10 years old. She says he doesn't have focus. He finds it hard to focus when the teacher is explaining in school. Your take?
Not enough information, but I'm going to encourage Shubhi to maybe get him assessed, because the thing about focus is there's a lot of things that could be going on, right? So there could be ADHD, which is attention deficit, because that has the element of lack of focus. There could be something that is causing him anxiety, which is why he's losing focus. So I think taking him to a therapist to be able to get to the root of this lack of focus, because people don't just lose focus. So one thing I want to say, please, your child is not lazy or just not wanting to do, children most likely don't do that. There is a reason. Please, I would encourage you to see a therapist or send me an email, but with a little more information, and I can put you in the right direction.
Super, very generous. And I think Birju sir can share, Tanvi can share the email address of Dr. Rachna. And there could be academic disorders. And of course, there could also be the language issue. In India, it's very common when children do not resonate with the language, the text, they don't connect with the subject. So, okay. Moving on to somebody called
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
I want, Shubhi, you said, right? So,
Yeah.
I want Shubhi to know that you don't have to do this alone. You have support systems. So, because sometimes parents get really overwhelmed.
Oh,
it's
yes.
like, okay, what do I do with this now? But, this is not a fight that you need to fight alone. Please reach out. I'm sure schools have counselors or therapists, or like I said, email me.
Very impressive, and I think very supportive. So OnePlus CPH, I think it's just the name of the phone. How to ignore if the child is not working hard? And a very Indian question, how not to lose temper?
Okay, so the temper part, you may want to seek a therapist yourself. Okay, so let me just say this. Anger comes from only two places, fear and hurt. So I think everybody needs to explore where for them that anger is coming from, right? Is it coming from a place of fear? Like I said, even that control comes from a place of fear, right?
Oh.
So where is that coming from for me? Why is this situation causing that much anger, right? So that's a little self-reflection for the parent. The first part of it was that the child doesn't want to work hard. Is that what it
No,
was?
that's different. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The child doesn't want to
To
work hard.
ignore.
Yeah. The
Okay.
child is
So
not working hard. Yeah.
Okay. So I would really encourage you to sit with your child and understand why it is that the child has decided that they don't want to. Maybe it's something that they're not interested in. Maybe it's their way of getting attention. Because here's what happens, right? If a child doesn't feel that they're getting enough attention, they will do these things. Because then what then happens is maybe you're yelling at the child. Acha, theek hai, then at least in that way I'm getting attention, right? Remember, children crave attention from their parents, and it doesn't matter what kind of attention. So I think sitting with that child and connecting with your child at a level where you can start understanding your child as much as he's understanding you, and then he or she will stop probably doing the things to get negative attention.
Wow. Or on a lighter note, checking your own report cards. Sometimes the parents. Okay, anyway. Moving on to Rubal Garcha. How to handle tantrums that the children throw.
Little more information. I don't know how old this child is.
Exciting. You can comment on tantrums in general, because we love that line when you said that all our anger comes from either fear or anger. Oh no, what is it?
No,
Fear?
Control.
hurt.
Yeah.
No, so fear or hurt.
Fear or hurt.
That is where, yes, that
That's
is where
how.
anger comes.
That's what makes you angry.
Yeah.
Lovely. So something
Now-
about tantrums. Why is the child throwing tantrums in the first place?
A specific need is not being met. Way of getting attention. Again, it depends on the developmental age of the child.
Okay.
If it's a really young child, and here's the other thing. A big factor is temperament. Some children are more difficult. They're just temperamentally more difficult, right? So in those cases, I'm going to say, please don't give in to the tantrums. I know we're very worried. See, as Indians, we're very worried about what our neighbors are going to say. Yeah, America, maybe you go to the supermarket, a child is throwing a tantrum, parents are least ball. They're like, Ro, I am not going to give in to this. And even, as a society, we understand and we support the parents who are not giving into those tantrums, because if you do, it's going to continue and then it's going to become a monster that you're not going to know how to curb, right? So I think as a society, we need to support parents who are, say, in a supermarket or say in a park, and if the child is throwing a tantrum because the child is a difficult temperament and the parent is ignoring the child, because that's a very valid technique, I think we as a society need to support that parent in what they're doing. Now, if the child is older and doing it, because maybe they're having a difficult time emotionally, then of course you need to understand what the emotional needs of the child are.
Right. Otherwise, also it could be a symptom of growing distrust possible, Dr. Rachna, when the children feel that maybe our parents they don't do what they claim. And that's when they throw tantrums, or the growing distrust, possibly.
I think if because we are the role models for our children, so I think if we are saying something and doing something else, it might be a child's way of displaying that I'm not okay with something, and because they don't have the vocabulary,
Oh,
the
yes.
tantrum.
So somebody, B's Chetna Mittal, she says, my child is good at sports, but how to make him more expressive and participate in school activities?
Is that what the child wants to do, or is that what you want the child to do? Because he's already good at sports. Maybe that's his forte. Maybe that's what he enjoys doing, right? So now I'm setting the bar even higher. I'm saying, okay, theek hai, sports kar liya. Now I want you to do something else. But what does the child want to do? Again, I'm going to encourage parents to help children build identity rather than achievements.
Right.
Because that's going to go very long in their
Superb.
success.
So building identity and self-image is more important. And somebody called Suk has asked a contrary question. The child is expressive at home, but not expressive with classmates and in school. What to do?
Okay, so first of all, I want to congratulate you. You're doing a great job. If the child is expressive at home, good for you. Great parenting. So now, why they're not expressive at school? Again, it could just be without catastrophizing, right? So without saying that, okay, maybe there's something going on at school, and maybe there is. So you might want to, look into what might be happening in school that the child feels that, okay, I don't connect with my schoolmates, or I don't connect with my teachers. I don't, feel that I'm going to be accepted, and that's why I'm not doing it. But if not, the child could just be an introvert, and that's completely fine. So at the age of, I think, 40 something, I realized I was an introvert. So I come from a family that's extremely extroverted. We had lots of get-togethers and all of that. I grew up in Dubai, so my family was a lot into people, and I went along with it, thinking that is what I need to do. It's after the age of 40 that I actually gave myself permission, and I said, okay, but that's not who I am. And then I started owning the fact that I'm an introvert. I actually don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy talking to 10 people. I have my core people, and I'm completely fine with that. So maybe your child is an introvert, and it's okay, because introverts are, they can be just as successful as extroverts.
Wow. So I think that's where the awareness on the reason to go to a therapist or a psychologist is needed. Also, there's another one. There's lots of questions. So we will take 2 minutes timer, as many as we can address. And for the rest of the queries, we have Dr. Rachna's email address. So we already covered this part of the child losing interest by the name focus. So Astha, your question has been resolved already in a different way. Archana Mittal says, my daughter is shy. How to make her open up? Somewhere I think it has been addressed. And Shikha has asked about expressivity in school. We've answered, and I love when Dr. Rachna said if the child is expressive at home, parents could actually use that to learn a lot about what's happening in school. Minakshi has asked, how do we keep our children away from FOMO, the influence by peers, and if it's not by the parents?
Are parents okay with FOMO? Because I really believe children are seeing their parents. I mean, we do it. If we're not invited to something, why didn't I get invited? Doesn't matter if I didn't want to go. Doesn't matter if, oh my gosh, who's going to go get ready? But the idea of FOMO is even there in parents. So I think the first thing is be great role models to your children. If you are okay not being invited somewhere, if you are okay not being included somewhere, if you are okay with yourself, your children will most likely, because like I said, we are mirrors to our children, right? So the best thing you can do in this world of social media and Snapchat, and kids know exactly who's where, what doing. I mean, it's insanity. So for them to be okay not being included somewhere, not being invited, I think parents need to first think about being okay with all of that themselves, and children will absorb.
But I think the best gain out of today's webinar has been that now everybody has somebody called Dr. Rachna Buxani, whom they can reach out, whom they can mail. Am I right, Dr. Rachna?
Absolutely. And I do have a practice over here, but I promise you, whenever I've done podcasts and whenever I get emails, I will always answer. I may take a few days to answer just because I have patients over here that I see, but I will definitely answer.
Superb. And what we are going to do, we would end for now, but we are going to take a list of these questions. Just maybe in the WhatsApp portal, we can answer that. That's one way. And the second way is, of course, the parent could directly reach to Dr. Rachna Buxani. So this is that final moment where we share a hearty thank you, Dr. Rachna, for giving us the time, for becoming so vocal about issues which are neglected currently in our society, and showing that there is a way out. All that needs is conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for doing what you'll do. And anytime your listeners need more information, I actually love to help, which is why I got into this field. So happy to help in whatever way I can.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining. Your questions are valuable. We are taking a note of them. And please write to Dr. Rachna. She's there to address, and Unseen is available on Amazon. Do explore this wonderful book, a wonderful gift, I would say,
Yes, and I also wanted to remark that the proceeds from Unseen are going towards human trafficking victims. So everything that you guys, whoever buys ever so generously, you're contributing to a very good cause.
Excellent. Very noble. Thank you very much. See you all soon. Bye-bye.
See you.